Okay, well, today we're going to talk about LTRs or long term relationships. Somebody, commenter, subscriber, had asked me if they're worth it. Are LTRs or long term relationships worth it anymore? Or should you just date, spin plates, and never worry about ever being in a commitment? Pretty fair question. So, we'll dive into it. I will start by mentioning that I am in a long term relationship. Now, the structure of that, I won't get into the details of it, but I'm in one because it's very beneficial for me. You have to decide if it's going to be beneficial for you. But I'm going to express to you the advantages, okay, of being in such a relationship and with a level of commitment and where that can get you and why that might be an advantage to you. All right, and you have to decide if it's something that's worth it for you to get into. What's going to make it worth it really is the other person. Okay, so being in a relationship is not a good thing if the other person is not a good fit or a match, obviously. So that said, what is a LTR? I'm gonna use the term LTR the rest of the video. All right, it's a long-term relationship that covers anything from a marriage to a steady boyfriend-girlfriend scenario, to whatever. That covers monogamy, polygamy, where you invite other chicks in the bedroom sometimes, maybe, or even polyamory. Although I don't recommend polyamory, and I'll get into that at the end of the video. But LTR covers all structures, types, levels of commitment. All right, but the idea is that you're in a commitment with somebody and you're building a life together, and you're together with that person to some degree. All right. So the benefit really is one of the biggest benefits is peak experiences. So when you're just dating casually or when you're not in a commitment, a lot of you guys are not going to understand this. All right, let me just. Oh man, this is hard to explain because a lot of you don't get this, will not get this because you haven't experienced this yet in your life. And this is the trouble I run into when I try to illustrate the kind of life that dudes can have with women because they've never even experienced a fraction of that. They don't know what I'm talking about. Like they sit back and it's like what is he talking about, right? And then of course got some of my subscribers who are very black pill, very MGTOW maybe, and there's a negative connotation or thought process on those experiences you can have with women and the type of bond you can have with women. So I can't that you're just gonna have to bear with me, and I'm gonna do the best I can, because if you haven't experienced this, it's going to be very difficult for you to visualize. All right. But so LTR, one benefit is euphoric experiences, meaning peak euphoric, high, and I mean this, just high euphoria, high ecstasy, high emotion, a lot of neurochemical stuff happening, really good experiences, both on a sexual level and a non-sexual level, when you are bonded with another person. When you pair bond or bond with that person, and they're capable of pair bonding and you're capable of pair bonding, you can have these extremely high level of experiences with them that you can't have that with just plates. You can't. Now, some of you guys might think you can. Here's why you can't. It's impossible to have that with just somebody you're seeing casually, because there's going to be a protective nature on their emotions and on your emotions. So without a commitment and without, developing not to say without a commitment, it's not that the commitment's magic, but without seeing this person and developing a deeper connection and a deeper bond with them, where your neurochemicals are anchored to their neurochemicals, meaning that you get that oxytocin and dopamine and happy chemical hit from her, she's getting it from you, and your through repetition and the gravity of experiences that you're creating for her, you're having you're imprinting that stuff in your brain. Those neural pathways are imprinting to allow you to just have these really good experiences with this other person. You develop a very deep bond. And so, hard to do that. Not saying impossible, but it's hard to do that outside of some level of commitment. Because as a man, if you know that she can just go out and does or would or will go out and try to develop that bond with another person, just go out and cuck you, essentially go out and take another guy. If she sees the potentiality of that person being better, as you do in the dating phase, that's exactly what she can and will do, right? Without any kind of, she has not expressed a desire to be just with you and nobody else, you know what I mean? Which is what a commitment is. A commitment really is her expressing the desire to be with you and not to, she volunteers. How commitment really happens is the woman volunteers to cash in her hypergamy with you. She decides that you're her best option. And so she expresses without you asking or setting it up. Now, of course, there's millions of different ways commitments happen, but here, I'm telling you the best way I think a commitment can happen and should happen. If you're like a red pill guy or a guy who knows his shit around women, this is how it should go, where you're not imposing a commitment on her and she grows so desiring for you that she commits herself to you. She just commits herself to you because she believes that you're her best option. And then she verbally, not just through her actions, but she lets you know that I just want, like, you're it. Okay? So what she is expressing is that I know, or I believe, at this moment anyways, because there's always in the moment, right? But at this moment, I believe that I need to cash in my hypergamy right now. You're the best option I could have, and that I want to be with you. So, assuming you're her alpha, she has genuine desire for you. It's not a transactional relationship. You're not beta bucks for her. You're not paying her bills. You're not, you know what I mean? That's not the reason she's with you. That's when she makes that decision, and then you accept that decision. That's how a commitment should happen. Commitment should never happen where you're trying to trap and put her into that commitment. Well, what are we? And you're pushing for it. That should never happen as a man. Why do I say that? Because you're not hypergamous. She is. Okay? So she is the one who has to select, because you don't have that innate drive to always want to go for the next best thing in the same, at least at a genetic level, that she does. Her drive is always to try to be with the best option she's ever been with and the best option she'll ever be with. And so when she chooses the commitment, that demonstrates that she believes that. Again, unless, of course, you're doing a lot of beta bucks things and it's a transactional relationship. But assuming you're not sharing finances, you're not paying for her shit, she is on her own, and she's seeing you for the experiences she gets to have with you and the sexual, euphoria that you create for her. If those are the two reasons she is seeing you, and she wants more of you, and she wants to be closer to you, she wants more of your time, she will commit herself to you, and she will let you know that she wants to be in this commitment with you, that she is cashing in her hypergamy, and she wants you to accept that and to make that kind of official with her, okay, in some way, shape, or form. So that's the best way commitment can develop because of hypergamy. I recommend that that's how you do it. You let them drive it, okay? So the woman drives it, you accept it. Now you're in an LTR, all right? Once she has made that, so she's made that decision that you're her hypergamous best, now your those protective measures and some of that anxiety, anxiety, just internal thoughts or feelings of her going off with somebody else or trying to choose another person or whatever it may be, you know what I mean? Those things kind of go away. So now you can open yourself up to having deeper connections and experiences with her. All right. And then she always will need to have a little bit of dread and know that, attraction, for attraction to happen, she always has to have a little bit of thoughts of, or worries, small amounts of worry that what happens if you're gone, you know what I mean, out of her life. That will be a thought for her. It should be a thought for her, but she's confident enough that you you are willing to create enough comfort with her to not just leave her or discard her. Remember, a woman's existential threat is to be discarded by an alpha. So she will guard her emotional connection with you until she feels that you're not going to discard her. And so in that commitment, those feelings of dread, the negative feelings of dread, can kind of loosen up a bit, and she can open herself to fall into a deeper emotional, which is really neurochemical attraction and bond with you. So once you're there, okay, and you both are open for that, the level of euphoric experiences go higher. And there really is nothing else like it. There is no other plate scenario that will ever compare to that. That is why dudes do LTRs. That's why I do LTR. That's just why, because it enhances your entire life. Now, here's the other part of this is like, she is a complement to my life, and LTR is a complement to your life. They're never the focus of your life. And so that's really important. So now that you have this bond and this connection, she's a part of your life and making your life better and easier, not harder and more difficult, more painful, okay? So that is the benefit too. So don't be in an LTR if on a long-term basis, I mean, occasionally you'll have your fights or you'll have your things, but if on a long-term basis, life with that person is harder, more toxic, and more difficult to handle or deal with, but you're doing it because of sex or because of some good times you have with her, that's not a good LTR. Okay, that's an LTR that needs to not exist. All right, if she's not complementing your life, meaning making your life easier, better, more, and allowing you really to chase excellence more, because your reproductive problem is not just solved, but it's, exceeding your standards, on a regular basis. Yeah, like that's a good long-term relationship. You know what I mean? So complementing each other's life, you complement hers too. All right, it's not one-sided. So you guys complement each other's life. I mean, you're in the frame, you're the guy, so yeah, she's complimenting yours, but it's a benefit to her to be with you. It's complementary. Your life is easier and better together, not more toxic or harder, at least most of the time, minus an occasional fight or tiff or disagreement. That's a good LTR to be in. And so those are the reasons to do it. So then the other question is, well, what about vetting? Because so most women today are not long-term relationship material. They're just not. Maybe they will be in the future if they do some work, but they're not at the moment that you meet them. Okay? And they're not going to get there because they have too much work to do on themselves. Most women have been systematically destroying their reproductive abilities to bond with another person, and therefore cannot provide you or have that peak euphoric experience. You're just another dick for her. You're just another companion for her out of her vast notches and experiences that she's already had. So most women are just not going to be good material for a long-term relationship. They don't have an ability to pair bond, or they might not see you as her best, which, could be a thing, or they just have toxic behavior that they bring to the relationship, making your life harder, more difficult, more painful with her in it. And so most women are not going to be good long-term partners. That's the problem with LTRs, right? Is that you guys are settling with people who aren't good long-term partners. So what do you do about that? Two things. You learn how to game women better. Okay? You learn how to vet and you learn how to game. That's really important, because without that, what could happen, right? Like, you're not going to sense that this girl you are having these emotions for is a bad partner. You're not going to sense that she has these red flags. You're going to look at these red flags as arbitrary things on a list. You're not going to see the whole person behind the things. You might be like, well, she has tattoos, so she's probably toxic. Well, wait a second. Maybe, maybe not. What were the reasons for the tattoos? How old was she when she got them? What are the tattoos of? Where are they located at? You see what I'm saying? Like, there's a whole person behind this stuff. I had that video on notch counts that women hate, okay? Because talk about notch count and they hate it because they want to, just take all the dicks and have no consequences, which doesn't work that way. We know that. Well, you can't just look at a girl and be like, oh, her notches are this, so she's not material. Like, no, not necessarily. What's behind it? Where's she at now? What's her current existing behavior? You know what I mean? So you have to look, and when you don't understand women, you're just looking at lists and you're looking at, checklists and trying to make sense of it, and you're going to miss things, right? But when you understand how women communicate, how women are, you can really start detecting good or bad potential mates. And I will tell you, you will go through a lot. So to use my example, because I'm in an LTR, okay? But for about, we'll just say about 90 days, if I look back, about a 90-day period, okay, I went through about 200 women in the 90-day period. Now, I was not just going and picking up on women. I had other life things I was worrying about, okay? I was getting ready for a deployment, in fact. All right, so after my last ex, when I was getting back out there, before I met my current long-term partner, if I go backwards 90 days, I went through like 200 women. Now, I didn't sleep with 200 women, so that's not what the answer is. I'm not going to tell you the percentage of that 200 women that I did sleep with. That's for you to guess, okay, and for me to know and not include on YouTube. But it was a rapid process of meeting people and nexting them. So I nexted people right away, and maybe we'd get a little far, or maybe we would make it to the bedroom, but then I would start seeing things that make us not compatible, and I would next them. You know what I mean? Most of the time, that majority of the time, we didn't make it to the bedroom because they got nexted before that. I was selecting, I was choosing, I was nexting them. All right, it wasn't a scenario where they weren't interested. All right, so going through a couple hundred women roughly, I would say 10% of those maybe were good potential long-term partners. So we're talking about 20 or so women out of 200 that maybe were good potential. The rest, not ready for it, right? And so out of that 20, there's most of those you're just not going to have that connection with that you're looking for. And so there's nothing wrong with them, but just the connection's not there. And so then you vet out, and then it led me to my current long-term partner. So to give you numbers ideas, that's an anecdotal, example, my anecdotal example, but that's what you have to be prepared for. Some of you guys do not spin enough plates, and you don't have enough women in your life, and you don't learn how to recognize and communicate things with women and how to just sense what's a good match and what's not a good match. You know what I mean? And so that's where your game skills become really important during the dating phase. You date a lot and you don't give your commitment away. And when I met my long-term partner, I did not give my commitment. There was no discussion about a commitment. We were just seeing each other and we let things develop. And many months later, we started, and it happened the way I described, where she committed herself to me, essentially, and let me know, because that was her choice. I didn't impose a commitment on her. I didn't say, well, what are we, and are we going to be together? Like, there was none of that conversation out of me. She let me know that she was committed to me, that I was the person that she wanted to cash in her chips at the casino and stop her hypergamous search and be with me. That was what she expressed to me in so many words, and then I said, yes, let's do that. Or it wasn't like she got on a knee for me. I was in Afghanistan. But, you know what I mean? It was like, she expressed that to me, and I accepted and said, great. Now we're in a long-term relationship, basically, right? And so that's how it should go to develop, and you're going to have to X out a lot of potential that just aren't going to be good for you. A lot of women and a lot of you guys don't have abundance with women, and that's a problem. You have to have abundance with women so you can do this the right way, okay? So last piece of advice, we'll talk about structure. In my opinion, This is my opinion. A lot of you guys are going to disagree because there's a lot of content creators that say different things. Okay? In my opinion, there is two structures that you can have if you're giving away your commitment. If you're going to be committed to somebody to some level, to a degree, and they're not just somebody you're casually seeing or a plate, as we call it, then these are the two structures that I think can work, and the rest I don't feel can work. All right? Now understand, most will not work. All right? It's only 13% that work according to a particular study, and the rest don't work after an 8-year period. So most of these scenarios, these long-term relationships, will not work. You want to be in one that works, though, I recommend you pick one of these two structures and that you follow kind of the program I'm giving you here, because this will be your recipe for success. Two structures that you can accept, again, that can work are monogamy or polygamy, which is male-driven polyamory, okay, where there's one guy, multiple women involved. All right. The reason, so monogamy can work, but monogamy is the least instinctual option. All right. So we evolved as a species, and monogamy was the last part of that evolution, which means it is the least ingrained in our genetics. All right. There's a lot more drives we have for polyamorous behavior versus monogamous behavior. Now, you can't have a solid commitment. You can't have really a relationship without some sort of commitment. And so having an open relationship is not a real relationship, in my opinion. She might as well be a plate at that point. And I'll get into the reason why that is. All right? But monogamy is the least evolved option, so it creates the most amount of problems in the structure. Now, I don't mean to say you can't make monogamy work, because that would be false. Monogamy can work, but there are certain things that have to happen within that structure in order for it to work, and she has to be fully participating in that. She has to be willing to work against some of her instinctual drives, and so do you, in order to, in a temporary sense, okay, in a temporary sense, in order to maintain a monogamous commitment. And there's a lot of things that need to be in play for that to work out in the best possible way. But people who tell you that it can't work, monogamy can't work, they're wrong, all right? Because it certainly has. It's just a small percentage of the population that can make it work. And we're talking, like I said, well, according to a study, 13%. So 87% of these relationships that are mostly or pretty much monogamous relationships do not work out, all right? So there's a lot to be managed in a monogamous relationship, but that is one structure that can work. Okay, now, polyamory, where you both sleep with other people, or you swing, or whatever, unless you have proclivity towards men, so there's a level of homosexuality in your sexual desire, which is not, I don't know enough about that to be able to, you know what I mean? There's still a lot of things I don't know a lot about that. I don't coach guys who are usually. I have a lot of friends who are homosexual actually, but I don't coach on that. Okay, so unless that's the thing, all right, which is a different structure, and I don't have enough research or knowledge on that in order to really comment. If you're not like into dudes, okay, and you're into girls, having another dude stick himself in your girl will never work. All right, it will never work, and arguably that won't work even if you're into dudes. All right, here's the reason why it doesn't work. She sexually selects based on hypergamy, so that means if she is allowing somebody else to stick himself inside of her, she, on her primal instinctual desiring level, believes that guy has something that you don't, believes he has something better than what you have. Okay, on a sexual primal level. If she believes that, then what that means is that she'll never love you. Okay? She can only love, and I say love meaning respect, admire, have genuine burning desire, and come into your frame. She can only do those things and have that genuine burning desire for you if she sees you as her best option. The moment that she allows another man to be with her, She is saying essentially, it's a message that she is saying to herself that you are not her best option anymore, and she needs to seek options elsewhere, even if it's just on a short-term sexual basis. So that will break the relationship. She will never love you if you allow for that to happen. There is no equality, okay, in the sexual marketplace. It's only instincts and savage primal instincts, okay, that you can steer in a direction to be successful, or you can steer in a direction to fail. That's all you have, and that's all you can do. All right? So, polyamory is not a structure that can work in a long-term relationship. If she's going to sleep with other people, then you're just plates, because you will not be able to let go and be completely open for those euphoric experiences. If you do, then you're going to be in a lot of turmoil over that, because she is not going to be completely open to having those euphoric experiences with you unless she's BPD and doing and creating that for manipulation. She won't be able to do that because she doesn't see you as her best. You see what I'm saying? So it can't really work, and it cannot have the benefits of a healthy LTR if she is allowing for other men. That's just the way our biology is. Some women will hear this and think, oh, that's not fair. Don't be mad at me. Be mad at your biology. Be mad at God if you believe in God. But don't be mad at me for telling you the facts, okay? So that cannot work. That's why. The second thing, or the other structure, though, that can work, again, is polygamy, where male-driven polyamory, the reason that can work is because women evolved prior to monogamy, started to evolve in a situation where they went for the most dominant alpha men. Generally, women were treated like property in those environments, okay? We're talking like Old Testament stuff. So, and they allowed for multiple wives or concubines or whatever. And so a lot of times the main or queen or wife would increase her value by bringing younger, hot, women to the sultan or lord or king or whatever in order for him to procreate with and mate with, And so that developed into a thing where this is why most women have some degree of bisexuality, because they've evolved doing that. Okay, we evolved as a species from pure polyamory and hunter-gatherer tribes to this structure where women shared each other and shared an alpha male, but were not shared amongst other males, okay, because they were property. And to ensure paternity, if they were with other males, they were often killed or beat up or whatever, right? So under that, the women that survived, thrived, and procreated into that structure had a proclivity for other females and were often aroused or turned on by their male being with another female. And so that's why that structure can work. I'm not saying it's for everybody. There are problems that you'll have to solve in that structure, but it can work, okay? And those are it. Monogamy, polygamy, those are your two choices. Polyamory, or any sort of thing that involves another dude going into your LTR, will never work. That actually will, I make the case that is damaging to a man, an alpha man particularly, in his self-concept. All right, because an alpha man needs to know and ensure he's wired. You're biologically wired to ensure paternity and know that you are her sexual best, and that is why you are, committing your resources and energy and all that stuff to her. And so if you can't believe that because she's with another person that's a dude, then it doesn't work. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's damaging to your psyche and to your alpha state and who you are as a man, and she'll never see you as her best, and then those things just fall apart, okay? Or they become dull. They don't quite achieve the level of euphoria that you're looking for when you get into that long-term relationship. So that covers structures. We covered a bunch of things in the video. Hope that makes sense. Are LTRs worth it? The answer is yes, for the right person, with the right person. They definitely can be worth it. But don't rush into that stuff. Vet women out and take your time. Spin plates, as they say, and get used to nexting a lot of women. Have abundance and get rid of toxic women and make room for those who are good potential partners. All right. Thanks again for the support.